What's up, Kansas City? Dr. March Williams here with you today, introducing a new guest, Dr. Susan B. Wilson, who is the Vice Chancellor of Diversity and Inclusion at the University of Missouri, Kansas City. What's going on, Susan?
It's going well.
Great.
What's up, Kansas City?
What's up, Kansas City? Well, we're here today to share information with you about what's going on at the University of Missouri, Kansas City. As you know, Dr. Susan recently took over the reign, and she is the new Chief in Charge Diversity Chancellor. So, Susan, that's a long title. Tell us a little bit more about what is the expectation of your role at the University of Missouri, Kansas City?
Well, the expectation is that I develop and implement initiatives that improve diversity and inclusion across campus for everyone. And those efforts are guided by a diversity strategic plan, which is part of the university strategic plan. So it's not a separate one-off document. It's actually part of the strategic plan, and that's my role, to implement the diversity strategic plan and make sure that we have diversity programming at all levels. And some of the metrics that we look at in terms of how diversity and inclusion programs are successful, we certainly look at climate, and we just finished a climate survey that will tell us how we're doing, and then we'll do another one in 4 years so that we can see what change has been made. We also look at, our percentage of faculty of color, our percentage of students of color, and how that changes over time. So those are the things that we look at as success factors in this area.
Okay, wonderful. So in light of everything that's happening now in society, across the United States, across the nation, tell me how diversity and inclusion and the role of being the person who is in charge and making sure that you're overseeing what's happening with your programming. Tell me how it has been impacted for the young people or the students at U.M.K.C.
You mean in terms of the election?
In terms of the election, in terms of what we're hearing with, just feeling safe and secure. There have been many incidents, and I'm not just saying at U.M.K.C., but just across the nation, that people aren't feeling safe. They're not having the courageous conversations about what we can do to change things. Can you give us a little bit of idea of what you're doing to address those issues as they come up?
Well, I guess our philosophy is there's always going to be something happening in society that causes people to either be uncomfortable or have a lot of feelings. And so we address that ahead of time by having pretty robust training programs. So we teach people about how to recognize unconscious bias and what to do about it. We teach people how do you have a respectful conversation across differences, where you're not blaming or shaming each other, but you're learning from each other. We have training on how do you interrupt stereotyping, because in the workplace, even among students, people tell jokes, they make comments, and most of the time people don't know what to say.
Right.
And we've all had an experience where we're going home, we're talking to ourselves about what we should have said, but we don't say
replay it in your mind.
Yes. And so the students and the faculty and staff are no different. So we give them some simple tools that they can use to respond to those kind of things and interrupt it, because if we don't have people learning to interrupt it, it becomes a part of the culture. Now, pertaining to the election, we're very responsive to issues that happen. When the MU situation happened,
Yes.
we held listening sessions across our campus for faculty, staff, and students, so that because people were uncertain about how it would impact us, they also were on different sides of the fence about how they felt about the student demonstration. So we held listening sessions. And then the other part of the listening session is, what can we be doing better?
Yes.
Instead of just talking. And so we took down those recommendations, and we've already implemented a number of those recommendations from those listening sessions. Then when the election happened, we heard from students that many of them were afraid. We have students who are immigrants.
Yes.
We have people who are DACA students who...
DACA students?
DACA means... these are the students that were brought to this country
Yes.
by their parents and who don't have a status
Yes.
of citizenship, but are here learning, and at any moment feel like they could be deported.
That's right.
So we had those students. We have Muslim students who are afraid because once the election happened, they viewed some of the rhetoric as anti-Muslim, and they were saying they were afraid to go out and walk.
Yes.
So we've had listening sessions for them, and next week we're going to have the same thing for staff.
Okay.
Because we think it's important to have dialogue, and also we give people tools and tips for how they can take care of themselves.
All right, so if you're having the listening sessions with the staff and you're having the listening sessions with the students, how do you pull that together so that you have an outcome or solution to what you've heard and that you can use what you've heard to move to the next level?
Well, we do take notes and we bring those suggestions back, and we have a Chancellor's Diversity Council, and myself and the Provost lead that council. So that council is a conduit for that kind of information. So we compile the information, we bring it to the bigger body, and we develop a plan just like we did for the other listening sessions. And you know, when people have suggestions, they usually fall in a couple of categories. One is the totally out of the park, it's never going to happen because it's not feasible, because a lot of people don't know what's feasible and what's not feasible. And then there's some that you can implement in the short term and some that'll take longer to implement. And so we try to put those in those three buckets and kind of explain so that people don't think we're just ignoring their recommendation. And we try to take action on those that we can quickly and report those out.
Okay. And if you have young people who come to you, and I know that you do, who want to be a part or believe they can do work in that area, but they have limited skills and training, what would be some of your suggestions to them?
So it's not even just the young people. The young people have better opportunities because they can intern in our office, or they can become one of our work studies and they learn diversity and inclusion work. But I know every time I post an ad for a position, I get tons of applications, and then people are kind of disappointed because they're not chosen for an interview. But you have to have some experience in diversity and inclusion, because it's a very sensitive.
And it's not a workshop?
No, it's not taking one workshop.
It's not a workshop,
but it's
and it's not a conference. What are those sessions you can go online, at online sessions?
Yes.
Yeah, it's very intense.
So, you know, I would suggest that you do some work around the community and diversity. There's opportunities at churches. I know our church has a diversity effort going. You know, volunteer for that. Do go to a conference or two and get some formal training and build your portfolio.
Yes.
You know, if you have a job, volunteer in your organization to do something diversity and inclusion related. It might be to lead an affinity group, which is a group of, you know, either African American women or something, and do the reading. There's a, you know, diversity and inclusion, a lot of people don't know, it's a discipline in and of itself. There's all kinds of readings that you can read, you know, and that's one of the questions I'm giving away that I ask. So
what have you read?
Well, I asked them, I said, so what theoretical frameworks are you using to inform your diversity work?
Okay.
You know, and there's stuff out there. There's inclusive excellence models that people should know about, because it's a framework for how, because here's why diversity and inclusion programs typically don't work, and this is why we've been having some success, is that you can't just do diversity program piecemeal. You got a little program over here, it's not tied into anything that the university is doing. That's why we have an organizational development model for doing diversity and inclusion. It's tied to the mission and vision. It is tied to the inclusive excellence model. There's 5 domains, and we make sure we have programming in each domain, because if you don't, okay, you're doing fine in this area, but these other areas are just kind of left behind. The other thing is you can't do diversity inclusion with one office doing it.
Yes.
So one of the first things I did was develop this group called Diversity Advocates. These were people from all around the university. They might not have been experts in diversity, but they wanted to learn. And we developed a learning community. We trained all these people in 4 elements of diversity and inclusion, and then their job is to bring us back ideas from their units and to share our information. And you know, we also have, and this was groundbreaking in higher ed, I said, you know, we have this diversity strategic plan, but what do most diversity strategic plans do? They sit on a shelf.
Right.
So I said, well, that's not going to happen. So I convened a meeting with all deans, and I had the support of the provost, which is very important to have leadership support for diversity and inclusion. Otherwise, nothing happens. And she told them, she said, each one of you is going to have to do a diversity and inclusion action plan with timelines and with benchmarks and who's doing it. So each dean convened a group within their school. The law school had one, the medical school, and then they came up with an action plan and timeline.
So it wasn't just something that you were going through for the sake of saying we need to have professional development today, let's just focus on diversity and inclusion. Right. It was a strategic plan aligned with the goals and the mission and the vision.
And the deans
had to be a working plan.
And the deans had to develop plans that tied into our
right.
diversity plan.
Gotcha.
They had to hit the 5 dimensions.
Right.
Then guess what? They have to report their progress to a diversity council that the provost leads.
Yes.
And I lead. So there's an accountability piece built in, and that's how we've been able to make so much progress in a short period of time.
That's great, that's great. So let's talk about another responsibility that you have, and I know that University of Missouri Kansas City has many opportunities for lecture series. You've brought in some wonderful people from various areas to address issues current and past in the community, and it's always been very, very diversified. But I'm excited about what's getting ready to come up.
Me too.
With Sister Soldier. If you know about Sister Soldier, she wrote the book The Coldest Winter Ever. It's probably one of the best books I ever read. I think I read that book in a couple of hours and kept waiting for the sequel. And then was it Midnight or Black or something?
Oh, Midnight.
The
Midnight series.
Yes. I wanted her to write more on The Coldest Winter Ever, but I wanted to
Well,
talk
you know,
about,
she did do a sequel to The Coldest Winter.
I know, but it didn't have that same, to me, I was like caught up in that one.
Yes.
And then the next one I was like, okay, I need you to get there. So it's still one of my favorite books. I just love her. So why don't you talk a little bit about that activity that's coming up?
So Sister Soldier will be here on January 24th. She's our Martin Luther King lecturer, and I think the reason we chose her is that she's very timely. She has a lot to say about the black community and where we can improve the black community by doing it ourselves. She also has a big following actually in the prison with the brothers who read her book for inspiration, because she also, even though she doesn't beat you over the head with it, she's talking about principles of manhood and how women should align themselves with real men.
Right.
And I think she's done a lot of activism around police violence, around community violence. So I think for all those reasons, she was the right speaker at the right time.
Well, I'm excited about her coming. I can't wait. I know that she's in the process of also producing a movie. But I'll stick with the book right now, until that comes out.
Because the Coldest Winter Ever is going to be made into a movie.
Right, absolutely. And so we'll take the book and take her coming in January. January 24th. Yes. And the other nice thing that she agreed to do is a workshop for our young African American students. Okay. Yeah.
So she'll be doing that the day after. But the public is invited to the Sister Soldier lecture. It's free.
Yes. Better sign up early.
But you do have to register, because space is limited.
Yes.
And so to register, you go on the U.M.K.C. Diversity and Inclusion website and click on events, and you will be able to register right there.
And it will fill up quickly, I'm telling you.
It will sell out.
Yes.
When we opened it the first day, and we now have 500 registrants.
I was probably number 3 in getting, when I saw that link, because I received the email, and it was before you posted it, so I went immediately in and tried to, make sure that my name was there and appearing. So with that, I want to thank you again for coming out and sharing information. Congratulations again on your role at University of Missouri, Kansas City. I have followed you throughout the years. I've seen your work. I know what you're capable of doing. And
we go a long way back, don't we?
We go a long way back. Bougie people can do that. We can go a long way back. With that, we're going to close this segment of What's Up Kansas City, and I would just leave with you. People always talk about change, but it's up to us to be the change that we want to see.
Take care, Kansas City.
I'm IFBB Bikini Pro Kat Williams, and when I'm not working out in the gym, I'm searching the web on Cascade Media and What's Up Kansas City. So make sure you check them out.